The story is about the ghost of a crazy girl who comes back to take revenge just for a packet of sticky rice. The woman who told this story was told by her mother. Her mother said that at that time, her mother sold sticky rice at a spontaneous market. In this area there is a woman named Mai. She is very rich and is the one who lends money to the whole area. Because she is a money lender, this woman curses a lot with her mouth, curses this person, curses that person, curses even if she doesn't borrow money, curses even if she borrows money. In general, she curses without sparing anyone. I don't understand why at that time a crazy girl appeared in this area, and this girl begged for food from the beginning of the area to the end of the area. Even though there were many poor people in this area, people's life is also very meaningful. So those who have little things give less, those who have more give more, and people don't underestimate or abandon this crazy girl. There was only Mrs. Mai. She always had an attitude of hating, discriminating, and fearing this girl. Because she wore very dirty, tattered clothes, Mrs. Mai was very uncomfortable. And this Mrs. Mai's house is the most beautiful in this area. In front of her house there is a very beautiful sunflower tree, so this crazy girl often sits in front of Mrs. Mai's house when she gets tired of begging for food, to pick flowers to play with. Every time Mrs. Mai came home from the market and saw this crazy girl sitting in front of the door, Mrs. Mai got angry, so she used a stick to beat and chase this crazy girl away. Sometimes Mrs. Mai even went into the house to boil water and poured it on this girl's body. Sometimes she was afraid that this girl would come into the house to steal her things. The people in this area saw that it was very bad for the crazy girl, and advised her a lot. Don't do that, don't treat people like that, anyway, they won't do it. It's normal. But Mrs. Mai insisted that she wouldn't listen, she would just beat and chase this girl away. If she saw this girl sitting in front of her house, because this girl's nature was crazy, she wouldn't resist. Okay. Every time I sit right there and this woman runs out and curses or hits me, she just runs away. Until one day, Mrs. Mai went to her mother's sticky rice basket. She had just bought a package of sticky rice. While she was standing there buying, she took a piece and put it inside. Mouth to chew food. While chewing like that, this crazy girl appeared from nowhere. She stood next to Mrs. Mai, took her hand to tug on her pant leg, then spread her hand out, say, "Give me a piece, give me a piece." At this moment, Mrs. Mai felt very uncomfortable. She used her foot to kick this crazy girl. "Go out," Mrs. Mai cursed, "you dirty and disgusting thing, who let you stand near me? Then you took your stinky hand and touched my pants colon." So right now this crazy girl is still just standing there, then spreading her hand and saying, "Give me a piece, give me a piece, so delicious, so delicious." At this time, Mrs. Mai felt crazy. The piece of sticky rice in her mouth just spit out on the ground. She pointed down and called that crazy girl, "There for you. There, you crawl down and you're hungry. Eat it." I didn't expect this crazy girl. She just crawled down there and picked up the sticky rice that Mrs. Mai had just spit out and put it in her mouth to chew. At this time, many people witnessed this scene, and people were also whispering. Everyone, big and small, really hates Mrs. Mai. Why do you treat a crazy person like that? But people can't say it directly, because everyone here is Mrs. Mai's debtor. Mrs. Mai's face was pale at this time. She was very upset. She said it's really a dirty thing, a piece of sticky rice that people spit out but still pick it up and eat it. So she took the boiling mushroom in her hand and threw it out into the street. Then she shouted loudly at this crazy girl, "I threw it out there, You run out, you go ahead and eat it, I'll give it to you, that's you. As soon as this, because she rushed out suddenly like so people couldn't react in time, and in the end this girl was hit by a truck and fell onto the road. Her head hit the ground and blood spread all over her body. In that area, people can still see her wrist still clutching the sticky rice pillow, her whole body is shaking, and people even see her dead but her eyes do not close, and that look is still there. Staring at Mrs. Mai, at that moment everyone tried to come forward to help this crazy girl, but as for Mrs. Mai, she saw that scene and was silent. She went back to her house. Now I don't know how to punish anyone, because actually, even though this crazy girl's death is related to Mrs. Mai, everyone knows from beginning to end that it was all caused by this girl. Out on the street, everyone tried to gather money to hold a funeral for this crazy girl, but Mrs. Mai, she was so evil from beginning to end. When she finished organizing the funeral for this crazy girl, she did not come to light an incense stick or express a feeling of regret. After the death of this crazy girl for more than a week, people never saw this matchmaker leaving the house, but the people who sold in the market in the morning around 3 to 4 am, when people pass by Mrs. Mai's house, people always say that they see the silhouette of this crazy girl, standing in front of Mrs. Mai's house and banging on the door, even when people pass by, for this girl's shadow even turned around and asked them, "Is there anything you don't want to give away? What's not to give away?" Oh my god, people are so scared. The traders in the market are willing to go around a long way, not daring to pass by Mrs. Mai's house at 3 to 4 am to go sell. Again. Wherever we go on the 10th day, the whole market is very shocked, because people see the matchmaker has gone out of the house, but now she has a very scary appearance, her hair is that of the matchmaker. It's like your hair hasn't been washed yet, it's messy, it's sticky and it's wet, your clothes are. It's a thick stripe. But her body gave off a very foul smell, and her face remained bewildered. Then she went to this sister's mother's sticky rice basket and said, "Sell all the sticky rice to me." This sister's mother also didn't understand anything, so she asked her, "Who did you buy it for? Then why did you buy all that sticky rice?" But she didn't answer, she just put the money into this sister's mother, then took all the sticky rice to go home. People in the market were also very confused and shocked. Then they decided that after the market sale was finished around 11 o'clock, people would come over to this matchmaker's house to see what it was like. When people came to the house, the main door and the side door of Mrs. Mai's house were all open. People called her a lot but there was no response. So when people ventured inside, they saw a very horrifying scene. Mrs. Mai was lying on the floor, right in the kitchen, surrounded by pieces of sticky rice. It was all slimy, it was green, it was white, and there was still a piece of sticky rice in her mouth. Again. When people came to put her in her body was cold and she had already stopped breathing. Everyone quickly called the police to come check out the situation, but they didn't do any tests and told her that the cause of death was suffocation, due to eating sticky rice. Just hearing it makes sense, but the people in this area know for sure that it's the ghost of that crazy girl who came back to kill this Mrs. Mai to take revenge. Then everyone was also afraid, so everyone used money to invite the teacher to come and worship. Then when inviting this teacher back, everyone also explained the events of the past few days. The teacher will do something. Ceremony at 12 o'clock. Then the next day at 12 o'clock, the teacher was doing the same ceremony. At this time, everyone saw the teacher, he was standing right there talking into the air. After that, he took out a small bag and tied it up. Again, Then he went out. He told everyone that he has captured the ghost of the crazy girl, as well as this landlady. He will take it to the temple to send it to her. These two people practice, and nothing will happen again. Everyone, please rest assured. And this is the end of the story. Everyone who listens to the story finds it interesting. Please give me 1 like and 1 subscriber. I hope everyone has fun listening to the story. See you in the next videos. Goodbye.